Welcome to the Papa Report. I'm your host, Joe Wilson. I'm joined today with John Papa, president of DPS Advisors. John, how are you today?
Hey, Joe, I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing wonderful.
A lot of great topics to talk today, so I'm really excited about today's show.
Well, it's a good one to talk about because I know you want to talk, before we go anywhere, you want to address this crazy market volatility that's happening right now in the stock market.
Well, yeah, Joe, I mean, Friday the market was down 800 points. Yesterday was down 600 and something points. It's down, I think the S&P 500 is down close to 22% for the year.
Unbelievable.
The NASDAQ is down almost 30% for the year. And the Dow Jones is down close to 21% for the year. So it's very volatile. It's very crazy. There's a lot going on in the world today.
Well, we haven't seen volatility like this. I mean, really. I mean, obviously we saw it for a brief moment during COVID, but John, you've been around. You've been doing this a long time, John. When's the last time you saw this type of volatility?
We saw this in 2008. You know, when the market crashed in 2008, when our country went into a recession, the banks failed, real estate failed, mortgage companies failed. You know, we saw it back then in 2008. So it's kind of getting to that point here in 2022, and clients need to know, how much risk are you taking in your portfolio? You need to know that.
You know, you brought something up right before we came on the show. Not only are the stock markets down, tell the folks about, you're telling me the bond markets and how they're getting crushed.
Well, yeah, Joe, I mean, the Federal Reserve, we talked about in the last segment, you know, their job is to keep inflation down. And the only way really to do that is to raise interest rates. So we've been getting 50 basis point increases in the bond market, and that's crushing bonds now, too. So clients think they have a safe haven in bonds, and they don't. No, they're down in all their positions in their portfolio. So that throws out the balanced portfolio concept, you know, the 60-40 balanced portfolio. That's gone. That's getting crushed this year.
It's almost like we're creating a new history in essence. Yeah, I read a report when we were prepping for the show. The 50-point basis hike hadn't happened since 2000, 22 years ago, and we've already seen a quarter and a 50, and God only knows where they're going to go from here.
Well, they're talking about a 75 basis points, which I think is going to come. That's going to happen.
You know, the last time that happened was 94.
Yeah.
It's like history.
Right, and that's creating turmoil in the market. So what does a client do? They think they're in this balanced portfolio. Their advisor told them, hey, listen, you have a 60-40 mix, and you're protected. You cannot be really affected by the downturn in the market. And all we've seen is they're getting crushed. So they'll come into the office, and we had a client come in just the other day with their portfolio saying, hey, my advisor told me I'm protected. And then we looked at their assets. We did a Morningstar report. We used tools that we have available. And I showed them. I said, listen, in a Morningstar report, you can get what the worst year return was in this portfolio in the last 10 years. And their portfolio showed a 29% downturn in 1 year.
That's 30%.
That's almost 30% in a year. And I asked them, did you think you were taking that much risk in your portfolio? And they said, no, our advisor said we were protected. We have bonds in our portfolio. So the balanced portfolio method is over.
What amazes me is if you have $1 million and that happens, 30%. That's 700,000. And then if you're retired, you're walking to those retirement years, you're taking money out of those accounts. I mean, how do these people recover?
You almost can't recover. It depends on how many years that happens in a row. You almost can't recover. And Joe, let's talk about that, which no one's talking about. What if it's in a qualified plan and your December 31st statement showed $1 million and you're 72 years old, and you now have to take out in 2022 a required minimum distribution of about 4% of the value of the account, which was $1 million on December 31st.
That's 40,000.
Right. Now your account's only worth 700,000 because it's down.
So you're in the mid sixes.
So now you're in the mid sixes in a couple of months.
Oh my
$360,000 down in your portfolio in a couple of months, and that was the year one of the required minimum distribution.
So if you go into year 2 or year 3, and if this turns into a longer kind of just bouncing around moment, this could have a devastating effect on the modern retiree.
It will ruin a person's retirement. And no one's talking about it.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. And it's why it's so important that we have this show. What number one advice, and I know you've got some stuff to go into, before we get into that, talking about market volatility, what's the number one thing that you're just constantly seeing when folks are calling off the show, and thanks for being here. I mean, I know the phone's ringing and it's crazy.
Yeah, it's been ringing off the hook lately.
So when folks are calling in for the report you're going to be offering them here in a second, what are you seeing when folks are coming in that with these portfolios? What type of volatility? Obviously, you just explained 30%. But.
Well, it's way higher than what they thought, right? So a client will come in, they'll bring their statements in once we start looking at their stuff, and we have some tools that we can use. I mentioned Morningstar Report before. I mentioned Riskalyze, and we're able to show clients, hey, if the 2008 market crash happened again in your portfolio, how would it react? How much money will you be risking if that happened again? And conversely, we also say to them, hey, if the 2013 bull run happens again,
right,
how much are you going to gain in that portfolio? And then the last scenario we can show them is, what happens if the government's raising rates like they're doing right now? How will your portfolio stack up? We're showing clients that. And my question to them first is, has your current advisor showed you this? And if they haven't shown you this, why not?
Yeah.
And that's part of what we do in our DPS report that we give out to every person that comes into our office complimentary.
It's amazing when you look at the volatility that's happening, and you just can't get away from it. Every news station's covering it, everything's covered. But then when you pair it to someone that's getting ready to retire and having to take that money out, it is truly a time where this has to be looked at. Right. Do you feel that the modern retiree maybe got a little lazy? I mean, I know no one's lazy. No one tell me lazy about your money.
No, Joe, they're lazy. We've been sitting around since 2008 where the government forced us out of the recession with very low interest rates, fueled money into the market. So we had a fake bull run for 14 years, so everyone was lazy. The market goes up every year. There's never any losses. That's not true. I mean, you talk about the lost decade of the 90s, the market didn't go up for 10 years.
Yeah, 2009,
the market didn't go up, right? Now, people are like, wait, the market's going down? That never happens.
Yeah.
Well, yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Or if it does, it comes right back up.
Right, and you need to be prepared for it. Now, listen, this doesn't affect the 30-year-old investor, people. This affects the retirees, the people who are about to retire, who have less time to recover from market volatility. The young people, this is a great opportunity.
It's an unbelievable opportunity.
To start buying stocks at discounts. That's what you should be doing. For the older people of retirement who we serve, you guys need to be making sure you're not taking too much risk in your portfolio.
John, I know you got an offer for the audience. Why don't you go ahead and tell them about the DPS report?
Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, you need to ask yourself 3 questions. Number 1, is the stock market volatility that's going on right now, is that causing you to not sleep at night? Number 2, are you worried about running out of money, relying on your kids in your retirement years? And number 3, is your portfolio down more than what you expected it to be this year in 2022, Joe? If you answer yes to any one of those questions, you need to dial 1-844-534-4452 and get your Diversified Planning Strategy Report, or DPS report. It's complimentary, it's a stress-free environment, and we'll just have a conversation and try and fix and help your retirement plan.
Folks, you get one shot at retirement, and this is an opportunity for you to sit down with John Papa there at DPS Advisors, where he's going to offer this DPS report. You need to understand how much risk you are currently taking in your portfolio. And like John said, if you're seeing major declines, and if you open that last statement, we're almost shocked, you owe it to yourself to get a second opinion from John Papa and his team at DPS Advisors. But you have to act. No obligation, complimentary report, but you have to dial 844-534-4452. Call the team and say, I want the DPS report. We're going to be coming right back to the Papa report, where we're going to be talking about, I love this, fees that you're paying in your current retirement and investment accounts. We'll be right back.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have by running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no-obligation, full-blown financial review today.
Folks, welcome back to the Papa Report. We're joined today with John Papa, president of DPS Advisors. John, you just were telling us all about this crazy market volatility that's going on. And then I love what you're getting ready to go into, because not only are we seeing statements just getting crushed from folks calling in off the show, you're going to talk about fees.
There's hidden costs. We talked about the hidden cost called inflation that's affecting our whole society.
Yeah.
But there's hidden costs inside of investments that nobody knows about. We'll get people coming into our office when they eventually bring their statements in, and they'll say, "Oh, I pay my advisor, 1% fee to advisor, which, hey, everyone's entitled, to make a living, and I don't have a problem with that." But then I'll look at their portfolio. They're in retail mutual funds. They're in all different types of funds, okay? Or they're in variable annuities or things like that. And the first question I'll ask them is, I'll say, "Hey, you have a variable annuity here. Do you know how much you're paying in this variable annuity and fees?"
Probably have no idea.
No, John. They'll say, "I have no idea what I'm paying." There's nothing on the statement that says I have any fees. I say, well, okay, let's call the company and let's find out what the costs are. And we see in almost every case that a variable annuity will carry about a 4% per year fee.
So you're telling me if a client comes in and they have a variable annuity, you get on the phone with the insurance company?
Yeah, I don't want them to hear it from me. Don't trust me. Let's call the insurance company. We play a game called Let's Call the Company.
Wow. 4%.
4% on average.
My goodness.
So now, Joe, if they're down in the market and they're in an aggressive variable annuity with aggressive tech funds inside their portfolio, down 30% this year, add 4% to it because the fees come out regardless of when they're up or down.
Right.
The fees come out.
Oh, my word.
Yeah.
And this is common.
Common. And every variable annuity has that.
You had mentioned something, and I want you to go back on it for folks watching the show. You said retail mutual funds. Dive into that for us a little bit.
Okay, great. So retail mutual funds are basically when you can call up Morgan Stanley or Merrill Lynch and you're going to buy
the big box firms.
The big box firms. So you're going to buy a box of mutual funds. I want to buy some stock funds, some bond funds, and they basically put together a basket of securities inside whatever field you're looking for, equities, fixed income, whatever. So what they'll do is they'll basket these up a little bit, and they have fees. Nobody manages a fund for free. So on top of your advisory fee that you're paying, these mutual funds have fees as well. And Forbes magazine did a great article on what's the real cost of owning a mutual fund. Okay. And I'll have that article sitting out when my clients come in who have mutual funds. Hey, this is the real cost of owning a fund. It's not just the expense ratio that's inside of a mutual fund, which is about 1% of the fund. There's turnover costs. Because these funds, like we talked, don't manage themselves. A fund manager, say you're a fund manager, Joe, and you need to get return in this fund, you need to buy and sell securities inside that fund.
So it's constantly
turning over. So the higher the turnover ratio, the higher the costs for that inside the fund. And you can actually measure the costs of a mutual fund. So like the variable annuity, we'll see on a regular basis, mutual funds costing 3 to 4% for a client to own, and they don't even know it. No one gets or reads the prospectus. All these costs are in there.
I use it to start my fires on my back patio.
Typically 300-page documents written by lawyers, and the fees are not in the front of it or the back of it. They're in the middle.
And you're telling us you're seeing this just all the time right now.
All the time. And it's especially true and effective today because when people are losing money in the market and then you add the fees on top of what they're losing, we go back to what we talked before about running out of money. Are you going to run out of money in your retirement? That's the worst case scenario in any retiree's life.
Well, it's almost like holes in the bottom of a bucket is what I picture this as. You're saying fees. It's just not only is the bucket volatile. There's just holes that are just draining the water
Just
out.
draining the water out of it. And then let me go back to, again, if it's qualified money, you have to take out RMDs on higher values than what it was, then add the fees. You're running out of money.
So it's great that the investors in New Jersey are saving. The challenge is they might not be saving in the right investment vehicles.
In the right investment vehicle.
And they're paying a ton of money.
Right.
And right now could be getting all this volatility on top of it.
That's true, Joe. And it's not just New Jersey. It's all across the country.
Right. Well, it's everywhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Right.
So it's not just my state.
John, at DPS, what do you guys? And I know I know you guys do a very tailored approach to your clients that work.
Right.
Nothing's cookie cutter.
No.
But in a broad sense, help us understand kind of what you guys like to do with some investment management that you handle.
Right. So we'll have a client come in or a person come in off the show, phone call, they'll come on in. And again, in the first meeting, I tell them, don't bring anything.
Okay.
Don't bring a statement.
I love that.
Don't bring anything.
Just a conversation.
I want to get to know you. You want to get to know me. I'm not sure if I can work with you. You might not be able to work with me either.
Sure.
You might not like the suit I'm wearing that day.
Oh, it looks pretty good.
Whatever.
I like it.
Looks pretty good, right? So we'll tell them to come on and let's have a conversation. What is affecting your retirement?
Okay.
Was it the fees you were talking about? Is it market volatility? Is it taxes? Is it inflation? We have a DPS report, we call it, and it shows all of the effects of all the different things that are happening to retirees. And we developed that report specifically designed for the customer.
So if folks call on the show today, I know you're going to talk about this in a little bit, they're going to get a detailed report that's going to help them understand the risks they're taking with this market volatility.
Right.
And then you're going to get into a detailed analysis so they clearly understand what they own and how much they're paying for it.
Right, because you can't make an educated financial decision if you don't know those things. So that's what the DPS report gives you. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you come into our office and you think you have some issues with your expenses in your accounts, you don't know what your fees are, you didn't read the prospectus because nobody reads the prospectus and you threw it out and use it for fire like Joe does, then you need to call 1-844-534-4452. We'll get a detailed fee analysis for you so you can make educated decisions on your financial plan. You need to know that so you can make great decisions.
I love that. Folks, listen, the most volatile markets we've seen in a really long time, you heard it from John Papa himself. The stock market is just reaching all kinds of volatility we haven't seen in really many, many years. And the bond market is getting crushed as well. Tap that on to what you could be paying inside your portfolio. There's not a better number that you can dial than 844-534-4452. John's team standing by, ready to set up a time for you to come in and just have that conversation. But you owe it to yourself to understand the risk that you're taking, and more importantly, how much you are paying for that risk so you can have the retirement of your dreams. So call that number, 844-534-4452. Tell them on the other line, I want the DPS report. We're going to come right back to the Pop report. Johnny, we're going to talk about 3 different types of retirement.
Another great topic.
We'll be right back.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
New Jersey, welcome back to the Papa Report. We're joined with the president of DPS Advisors, John Papa. John, I'm anxious to talk about this one. You got my interest. The 3 types of retirement. Tell the world about it.
Yeah, Joe. I mean, pretty much every retiree can fall into the 3 categories. Okay. So the first one, I'll explain them real quick, is you could be overfunded.
That sounds like a good thing.
Good thing. Or you could be underfunded.
Don't like that one.
Don't like that one at all. Or you could be constrained, the third one.
I'm not sure I like that one either.
Most people fall into that in the constrained category.
Okay.
Let me explain what each one of them are, okay, Joe?
That.
Overfunded, like you just said, it sounds like it's a great idea. It is, because that person is coming into the office and they have a lot of assets.
They've saved.
They've saved their whole life. They didn't really travel a lot. They got a lot of assets. A lot of it, most of it in a qualified plan or 401k. So that person thinks they're on a great track. And they are, because they have a lot of assets. But the track that they're also on is that they're going to pay a lot of taxes.
Okay.
They're going to pay a lot of taxes themselves when they do distributions. And they're going to pass on taxes to their kids and grandkids. Okay? And that's the overfunded side of it. So they're going to pay a ton in taxes. So our job when we work with overfunded people when they come into our office, we want to try and reduce. You can't eliminate the taxes because there's money in there. But we want to try and reduce the taxes on those qualified plans.
I know we don't have time for it now, but you've told me that you guys have strategies to help do that, and the window for that is right now.
The window is now, especially if you're not at the required minimum distribution age. Yeah, there's a bunch of different tools that we can use to reduce them.
So overfunded, you saved a lot of money, but you got a major tax problem, maybe even a state problem if that changes. Talk to us about the underfunded.
So the underfunded person is the one who has been struggling their whole life.
Life happens.
Life happens. Things happen. You work. They're not making a ton of money. They're trying to save as much as they can. And now they're dealing with inflation. They're not able to save. They're figuring out. How can I get food today, this week? How am I getting food on the table? How am I keeping a roof over my head? And it's unfortunate for those people, and we'll try and help them in every way we can to see where we can develop a saving strategy, or if they have some assets, how we can create some more income so they can lead a comfortable life. So we'll try and help them.
I love
exactly.
That. All right, so we got overfunded, underfunded.
Right. And most people that come into our office, they're constrained, right? Because what that means is they've got their monies invested in places that they think is proper, but they have to rely on everything working perfectly. They have to rely on the stock market never going down.
Okay.
They have to rely on taxes not going up. They have to rely on inflation staying really low.
Yeah.
Well, what's going on today?
Inflation, taxes, $30 trillion in debt, Social Security underfunded.
Taxes are going through the roof. Right, exactly. So the people who are constrained, we need to develop strategies to get them unconstrained.
Yeah, right.
So that they
can the overfunded.
Get them to the overfunded
in the right
side.
Account.
In the right types of accounts. That's exactly what we're talking about when people come in these 3 different types of retirement.
So the modern retiree today, right, and everyone's different. So they're saving in their 401k, they're saving maybe in an IRA or Roth IRA. They've got money in an investment account, and costs are going up. Tell us a little bit, when you sit down with these folks that are constrained, what are you hearing them say their number one worry is?
Am I going to run out of money? Will I have enough money to retire on? I don't want to have my kids have to take care of me in retirement. That's the number one thing. And then that leads us to a myriad of other topics that we just have gone over in the last couple segments. So how much risk are you taking?
Right.
Do you know the fee structure of your portfolio? The taxation on your qualified plans. So you need to run all that and market risk. We need to run these scenarios through so they can see how it's going to affect their portfolio, so we can make sure they live a stress-free retirement without worrying about their kids, taking care of them, and running out of money, and those kind of things.
One of the things I've learned from you, from knowing you over the years, you talk about is the retirees need to make sure they have their necessities covered. Right. And that's kind of that running out of money. If you got a roof over your head and food in your fridge and enough money to go to the grocery store and around town, it might not be the lavish retirement of Europe every week, but you can have a successful retirement. But how do you structure that, and how do we do that in this crazy world of market volatility and taxes? I mean, you could literally have $1 million, and if your necessities cost so much, you could be constrained.
Right. You probably are constrained, especially here in New Jersey. We live in a very expensive state to live in. It's not cheap to live here, between state taxes, all the different things that we give out in New Jersey. It's not cheap to live here. Real estate taxes are crazy. We're the highest in the nation.
Right.
So so we see people who are in the constrained box, and we're trying to implement strategies to get them out of that box. And there are ways to do that. They need to address market risk. They need to get out of only relying on the stock market going up. So there are tools that are in place to be able to do that. They need to get inflation protection. They need to worry about taxes. There's a lot of things that they need to worry about, and we address, and that'll help them get out of constrained and into overfunded.
It's tough. I can only imagine when you sit down with folks and everyone's got their money piled into this 60% stock, 40% bond, 70%, and they're all down right now.
Yeah.
You had mentioned something. You use some alternative strategies. I know we're running out of time on the show, but you're telling me there's some things you guys work with that are some hedges against markets like this.
Right. There are other alternative strategies that you can look at and put some assets into where you can protect your money from market loss. And you're not going to get all the gains in the market, huge gains in the market, but you're not going to lose any money when the market's going down.
Cover those necessities.
You can cover those necessities, and you're going to keep your balance intact, which is very important to a retiree or to a person who's going to be taking funds out of their investments pretty soon. Yeah. Protect that principle.
I know the IRS made a change and that the RMDs has moved to 72, and I know we're running out of time, but that has to be a concerning element because when I look at that, that means that the government's planning on people to live longer.
Well, that's true. They are. And people are living longer. Statistics show that people are living longer, but we look at that as an opportunity because now it used to be age 70 and a half. You had to start taking your money out.
Right.
Going to 72 gives me a little bit more time to get money out of that taxable environment into a tax-free environment to try and reduce the taxes on you and your family. So we look at it as an opportunity.
So if you're overfunded or constrained, that is a strategy you
definitely
need to
a strategy. You need to sit down.
Tell the folks, as we're closing out of here, tell them about your DPS report.
Right. So, folks, if you feel like you are in one of these categories, which everyone is, you need to dial 844-534-4452, and we'll give you a complimentary analysis and figure out how we can get you out of the constrained bucket in retirement plan and moved into the overfunded and enjoy your retirement. Because people say to us they want to watch their kids and grandkids play sports and in school events. They want to travel a little bit and enjoy retirement, not sit here and worry about finances.
They want to be stress-free.
Stress-free retirement, Joe.
I love that.
That's what we talk about.
Folks, this is an opportunity for you. If you're watching this show right now and you maybe recently got your statement from that big box firm and you look at that number and you're just going, man, it's down. I'm not sure what to do here. This show is for you. You need to dial 844-534-4452. Tell the folks on the other line, I want the DPS report and I want a conversation with John Papa so I can be retirement ready, so I can have my necessities covered. I'm in the best tax position that I could be, and I'm not paying those crazy fees. But we need you to call. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, have a great day.